Guys, welcome to the channel. This is Waga. We are going to continue with our series of videos on SwiftUI, right? And today we're going to look at one of the basic views, and that is the image. Now, first things first is that you can load an image. I'm guessing if you're not new to Swift, you know how to load an image. What we could do is we could come here and we could go to the assets.xc assets, and we could come to images. I have a number of images here. Let's take the lion and put that image there. And what we would want to do is maybe go to our content view. We go to our content view and we can load our image, right? And how we would have it is we could say, let's have a VStack. And in the VStack, let's give it a bit of spacing in the initializer. We could say spacing, and spacing is going to be 30. And here we're going to have the image. And all we need to do is pass in the name of our image. In this case, we have lion, like so. So when we do that and we hit resume, we should see an ugly picture of a lion because it's blown up. It's not proportional, right? And you can change the size by using the resizable, by adding the modifier resizable. So we could come here and say resizable, like so. So when we do that, it changes the dimensions of the picture. And what resizable does, it allows the image to expand as much as possible, blow up as much as possible, to fill as much space as possible, except I'm guessing the safe area, right? And how we might want to work with it is you could another thing you could do is you could give it a frame, right? We could give our image a frame to decide how much space is in it's going to occupy. And for that we could come here and say frame, like so. Okay, let's just say frame. Okay, frame like this, and in the frame we could give it for some reason frame only works when you start with width. So we could say a width of 100 and a height of 100, like so. So we have our lion there. And and another thing we could do is we could scale it to fit. We could say scaled to fit, like so. And that will make our image a bit scaled. We'll scale our image a bit so that it can fit better on our screen, right? Okay. Now, what scale to fit does is that it just it keeps the original aspect ratio. So it just makes it keeps the image in the aspect ratio that it is. And you could change this by you could achieve the same thing by using the aspect ratio, by saying aspect ratio, and the content mode you would say dot fit. This will achieve the same. You won't see a difference in our image because it will do the same thing as scaling it to fit, right? And another option is scaling it to fill, like so, right? And what this does is that you want it to be as large as possible. So, for example, if we get rid of the frame, you would see the difference better. So, if we get rid of, let's get rid of this, right? And we have fill and fit, like so. Yeah. So those are some of the aspect ratios you could use. The scaling it to fit and fill. Continue. Now another thing you could do is you could use a clip shape, right? You could use a shape to overlay the image, right? You could put an image, make sure that the frame looks a certain way, like a certain shape rather. So for that we could come to, after saying resizable, we could say dot frame, and we could give our frame a width of let's say 200, like so. And after that we could say dot clip shape, dot clip shape, like so. And the clip shape we want actually is, we could say capsule, like so. And that's a capsule. You could say circle is another one. You could say rounded rectangle. Oh, isn't it showing? Rounded rectangle requires us to pass in the what's it called, corner radius, right? Corner radius. And the corner radius is usually, let's say 10. like so. So we have a rounded rectangle. You can see it's barely rounding off. So yeah, you could also have the rectangle proper. We could just get rid of this inside and give it a rectangle proper. Those are the common shapes. So we could say rectangle, rectangle, like so. So basically, yeah, and you could even give it a shadow if you want. Give it a shadow, and in the shadow you could say a radius you could say of, let's say, 10. So you can see a bit of shadow on the side. So these are some of the options you could do when you're using with when you're trying to clip the image, right? Okay. Let's continue. Now another thing you could do, you could use is Apple introduced SF symbols, I think last year, and now there's SF symbols version 2, and they're pretty easy to use, right? And how you would use them is you could come here and in the image just give the type in system name and give in the name of the image you want to use. Now there's an app, you can get it from I think you can go to developer.apple or something. That's where I got it. And here you can see the type of SF symbol that you want to use, right? And we could pick, let's say, the folder circle. Let's say folder.circle. And you just pass it as a string here. You could say folder.circle, like so. So we get the folder.circle, and it works just like a font, right? Like a text. And we could increase the size by saying font.large title, like so. And you could say all the modifiers that would come with font, right? You could say, let's give it a foreground color. Let's give it a .foreground color. We could say, they're called SF symbols because they're based on the SF San Francisco font, I believe. And the color here can be, let's make our folder purple, like so. So you see our folder is purple. It still looks small. You could, all the basic adjustments that you want to make to it, you could. Like for example, we could say here, we could make it even larger by saying system, and we could make the size here. Let's make the size 70, like so. So yeah, so you could, everything you would want to do, like you could increase the size by using the modifiers that you use in the font, in the text. It works just like a text, so you could use the modifiers that you use with text to scale it. And you can also scale them because they are technically image. You could use the image scale modifier, right? You could say image scale.large, .small, .medium, depending on how you would want it, right? You could come here and say, let's get rid of this and say image scale, and the image scale can be .large, like so. If we make it .large, that's large, okay. Pretty small, if you ask me. But yeah, that's small. Small is a bit smaller than large. And medium is the halfway point between the two. So yeah, so you could do that. And the same thing would happen, just like you can give it a font weight. Just like you can give it a font size, you can also give it a font weight, right? So for that, we would come here and say .font. And in the font, we can pass in font.large title, like so. And we can also pass in a font weight of, what do we give it? Let's say black. Black is the heaviest, right? So we have black. Oh, I've ballsed up the spelling, black. Like so. So that's the deepest font that you could use. You could use a font size. So basically, everything you can do to a text, you can also do to an image. And those are the basics. Of course, another thing you could do, you could overlay text on images, and I will be doing that in another video, not currently, not on this one. But yeah, so basically that's how you load an image. The resizable modifier is pretty useful. You can use the aspect ratio and scaled to fit and all that. So yeah, so basically that's everything you need to know about a high level overview of the image view. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and like the video, and I will see you in the next one.